Don't be haters, guys. This thing's not going to put a wedding ring on my finger. This thing's not going to cuddle me at night when I'm feeling lonely. None of these cameras are going to do that. Like, you don't have to take it so personal. All right, guys, can you use the Fujifilm crop sensors, XH2, XH2S cameras for professional work? All right, guys, this is my first gig with the XH2S. I would have used my R5C, but for some reason it like dawned on me as I was preparing for the shoot that I left it back in Austin. Otherwise, I would be using it. Cool thing is, why I brought this just to do video of and YouTube stuff, came in clutch for photo stuff. We're doing a lot of low light stuff. Had to push ISO a little bit, and I'm already knowing that I'm going to have to do some noise reduction on it, because once you shoot full frame or the GFX system, those files are insanely clean. The cleaner your files are, the more you can push them in the edit. Against the record button thing. And we'll go that way. Canon colors, right? Because it's static made. It doesn't really matter what camera you're using for professional work, because usually on gigs, there's a lot of other things that makes you a professional, and it's just not the camera. So let's just dive into this a little bit. So if you guys didn't see, I did a road trip back to California. I live in Austin now, but while I was there, I got hired last minute to shoot a photo campaign. I didn't have my Canon R5C with me. My XH2S is kind of like my personal camera that I use for personal work. I use just for fun. I use to film all my YouTube videos. It's just a really fun camera to use. But with that, I used the XH2S on that shoot because it's all I had with me. So yeah, what do I think about it? The client loved the images. She was beyond happy. So it was like one of our best shoots we've done yet. I've been working with this client for so long that I pretty much used every camera brand with them. And their favorite so far was the GFX photos. I shot her with the Sony. I shot her with the R5. She loved those photos. Shot her with these. She loved those photos too, but still those GFX shots were something special. Every camera, put it in professionals' hands, they're gonna get pretty much the same look. Like when you've been shooting for a while, you develop your look, and that's what you start getting booked for. So it's up to the photographer to get that look out of the camera, which we can do majority of the times. Sometimes little subtle differences, but usually the biggest difference is how long it takes you to get to those results. So anyways, back to the camera. Everything we're shooting, the autofocus worked amazing. I was able to get some last minute footage as well, but I do have some complaints about the images. You'll see sometimes the images are it's like hit or miss. I know personally, most clients won't see the quality difference until they start going in and resizing and recropping and trying to push the edits. Maybe they have an in-house editor. That's when you start really seeing the quality difference. So I don't care what anyone says, you can use crop sensor for professional work, but there are limitations with it. Especially if you're doing low light, you're having to push the sensor a lot more in high contrast situations. This is why I like the GFX sensor, because it pretty much does amazing in low light. You can push it to 10,000 ISO and it still looks amazing. You can put it in the most contrasty scenes. You're still going to get a semi-filmic look from it just because of how much dynamic range it can hold. Now, circling back to this camera does not do that. Once you go past like 800 ISO, it starts getting a little bit muddy. Like sure, a lot of people say it looks clean, but once you start editing it and pushing your look into it, that's when the files start falling apart. Like it just can't hold up if you're pushing it. Keyword, pushing it. For anything that has amazing light, whether you're lighting it or you just have a lot of outdoor ambient light pumping into the sensor, looks amazing. Like light is the sensor's best friend. But you guys can see here, we're shooting inside of a dark barn. It was overcast that day, so I'm having to push the ISO a little bit more. Another downside too is in order to get more light into this, so my files don't start falling apart, is I had to open up my aperture more. The issue is a lot of the photos, the clothes are blurry. That's a big no-no. Again, this is a client of mine. I know she just wants the vibe, so it's okay with them. But if this was like a giant commercial brand, they're gonna be pissed off if the clothes are all blurry, if you can't see the details in the clothes. That's when full frame and medium format comes in, because you could shut down to like your aperture down to like 5.6, still get some decent separation, still get a lot of light in there, still get high quality images that you can push and post. Again, Yes, you can use this for professional work, but just be aware you can't push it as hard as you can with full frame or medium format cameras. It falls apart a lot faster at higher ISOs. I know a lot of people are gonna have beef with that. I still adore this camera. I still have my X100V and I use that thing frequently. It's probably my most used camera next to this guy. Again, R5Cs all for my actual paid work. All my video work, all my photo work, I usually go to this guy. Again. You could use this for professional work. You can use any camera for professional work. Most of the times when you're a working professional, the camera is the least of your problems. The most problems are problem solving, things are late, things get delayed, the weather changes, the lighting sucks, like maybe the mall's not as experienced, so you're having to push that a little bit more. Like being a professional photographer is more about being experienced enough to handle every jab that comes your way. Most of my big photographer friends are actually still using like DSLRs, which is like crazy. A lot of them are just barely switching over to the R5. A lot of them shoot Canon, to be honest. I'm content with it, but when I have an option of the R5C or the GFX, I just rather use those for photo shoots. So all said and done, this is an amazing camera. If this is your only camera, you can totally grow a career off of this thing. Don't be haters, guys. This thing's not gonna put a wedding ring on my finger. This thing's not gonna cuddle me at night when I'm feeling lonely. None of these cameras are gonna do that. Like, you don't have to take it so personal. It's not gonna save your life, you know? So yeah, that's it. Peace.